Ain't no how stepping with Marcus J live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Thank everybody for rocking with us as we continue in tonight's discussion. You want to be a part of it? We see you on Facebook Live. Thank you for rocking with us on Facebook Live. We had a bunch of people who left a lot of comments in the last Facebook Live, last segment that we just did. So I want to thank those folks. I'm going to try to see if I can get some of these comments in because they kind of rolled in on me pretty quick and I didn't get an opportunity to read them all real time. Let's see. Sean is listening to us in that last segment. He's asking about Farrakhan. Where was he? Not as popular as he was, not in the forefront, but who else is organized on his level? He's also continuing, doesn't think as a whole. We know the key players, congressmen, congresswomen, senators, etc. Those votes matter long before the presidential elections. He's right on point with what we were saying. Let's see. Shaq is still listening in that last segment. He said it's foolish because your voice is choked out when you don't even bother to be heard. He was just talking about voting people into positions to affect change, but then we don't vote. So are we just going to submit to whoever they want in office? I think that is a fabulous, fabulous point, Shaq. Thank you. And Sean as well. Very good points, fellas. Appreciate it. And you know how step with Marcus J live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio 804-402-2893 is the number to dial to be a part of the discussion. Want to kind of move it forward and talk a little bit about what we were talking about in that last segment. We were talking about obviously the shootings of Alton Sterling and Philando Castro. Those are the shootings that kind of led off the discussion. And then we talked about the two brothers who shot. I don't even know if I should call them brothers. I naturally call every man a brother and woman a sister, regardless of their race or creed. But I don't know if I should even dignify Micah Johnson or Gavin Long by even giving them that phrase. But we talked about how Micah Johnson was the shooter in Dallas and of police, and Baton Rouge shooter was Gavin Long. Brad, I want to bring you back in and kind of get your thoughts on, we talked a little bit in that last segment about how none of us are really surprised that this is happening. And DJ Renee Melendez kind of alluded to it about how these shootings have now kind of taken over the national narrative in the discussion. And what I want to kind of introduce kind of on top of that is you got a lot of folks that have become pretty damn indignant towards black folk with regards to our reaction to these shootings. And I don't want to call us victims, but for the purposes of the discussion, we kind of are. And so what's your thoughts on how your white brothers and sisters, my white brothers and sisters, just the folks that we know in our community, kind of getting in their feelings about us being pissed?
Yeah, and they don't want to have that conversation. I mean, you want to talk about fear? That's an element of fear. Like when I go to work and I am one of two black men in my entire floor and one of very few for my company. So, when you're around them all day and they're avoiding you, they don't want to talk to you or say anything wrong or for the fear that you might be upset, I think that's fear. Because now the national, and I'm going to call it a punchline, is we need to have a conversation. There needs to be a national discussion. Well, we've been talking about having a conversation for years now. I mean, so we can go all the way back to Rodney King, which, as you alluded to before, this has been going on. For not just for decades, but for centuries. But now that we have a nation full of journalists, everybody has a cell phone, everybody can whip out a video, and you can catch this real time, this is coming to the forefront. So it was okay a couple of weeks ago when within 48 hours, you had two black men literally murdered, executed by white police officers. The same old rhetoric. We need to have a national conversation. We need to have a discussion. As soon as black men start shooting back and taking the lives of police officers, and again, I'm not condoning the violence, but I'm just talking about the facts as they stand. As soon as that occurred, now you got people really talking about everybody got, hey man, talk time is over apparently because these dudes is tired of trying to wait on the conversation, and so I think that's just kind of ironic that there's been years and decades of time to have a national conversation and really get these things right, and it takes actions of this magnitude to make white people serious about wanting to sit down and deal with us. I can't get over that. So,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was trying to do my homework last night, but I turned on my TV, and here in Richmond there was a meeting between blacks and whites, and we sat down and discussed what was going on. And there was this one lady, a white lady, she said, I didn't know that this was happening. All my neighbors are white, so we didn't know that this was happening. So it really disturbs me now that I have to sit here and I have to learn about what's going on. And I just turned my TV off. Because how could you not know?
Yeah.
You do know.
Is it if they don't know or they just don't want to know?
No,
That's
she
kinda
don't.
where I am.
I'm more
wanna
like,
know.
you just don't really care.
You don't want to know.
Because it's out there. It's all over every type of media there is. How in Hades do you not know?
Well, and so here's the other thing, because I had a meeting on my own last week, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. But I am working on putting together, because years ago I had a civic organization called Frederick Douglass Coalition, and Marcus and I have talked about that several times. So I have sat down with some people to begin to utilize that as a vehicle to introduce some things, some types of legislation that should go, if nothing else, to our city hall and to our General Assembly. But it was interesting because as I was taking notes on some of the things that really need to come to the forefront, I was listening to television, and they were saying that we need to have a conversation so that whites can understand us better and we can understand them better. Like, you literally have black people on television saying we need to be able to sit down and have dialogue so that y'all can understand us better and put everybody on game. White people will never understand what it feels like to be black.
No.
So let's go ahead and squash that out, because they're not going to understand it. Then we can move on to the next thing.
Right.
Okay, so now we need to put some things in place that will begin to deal with that issue effectively, not just sugarcoated, not just the national dialogue that we need to have, because everything was all right as long as it was y'all.
Yep.
But now that it's a few of us, and excuse my expression, but shit just got real. We need to sit down now. So because we have this opportunity to sit down at the table, we need to have the people in our community ready to act. We need to have pieces of legislation ready. We need to have groups that can literally mobilize to voting polls. All of these things need to be in place.
See, that's where they need to be scared of
Yeah,
us.
because I'm with Marcus. Don't ever ask me to march anywhere.
Yeah,
First
I'm
of
not
all,
doing
I
it.
get hot way too easily. So I'm not doing that. I'm just telling you.
All right, wait till
We're not doing that. It's not doing anything but really pissing people off. The very people that you're marching against are probably sitting somewhere in a room looking at you on television
And
saying, look at them,
laughing.
they
Look
so
at these
funny.
fools.
Yeah. And then the police show up and they're arresting us. So the very thing we was trying to stop really invites more cops to arrest more of our people. I mean, how smart is that?
I feel you on your feelings about marching, but I have a grandmother who did the sit-ins and the marching. She actually marched with Dr. King. And if I did not march, it would be a problem for her.
I understand.
Like, if I did not, voice my opinion, I did go out there and march on Saturday. If I did not do that, it will be a real problem. She's like 95 years old now, and she's still telling her stories and how they spat on her, locked her up, blah, blah, blah. She used to do all the sit-ins downtown and Millen Roads and all that, the whole 9 yards. But, to each his own. But what I'm saying is I feel where you're coming from with the marching, but I feel like I have to march.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
It's
And
my
I don't want to
legacy.
disrespect the heritage, the history, the impact that our parents and grandparents made when they did that. My only point is that was the only vehicle that was available to them at the time.
I feel that.
Right now, we have so much more access to be able to get things done.
Right.
To where, you remember the movie Malcolm X when he had the Fruit of Islam there and he did his finger and they were talking about how much power he had and because
much
of
for
the way
one
he
black
did.
man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
we can do the same thing when we have 500 people show up to the voting booth.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's the
It's
same
just a
thing.
different method. So our vehicles are different now. We have so much more technology, so much more effective ways to reach out to people and pull us together like we've never done
We just
before.
got to stop and think and use the
What we
anger
have.
for something else.
Exactly.
If they want to be afraid of us, let's be afraid for some we can really tear up.
There you go.
Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. Shaq is still listening. He's speaking directly to what we talked about. Thanks, Shaq. I saw your comment. I got you, brother. He's saying St. Paul Baptist Church, the Creighton campus, is having a meeting tomorrow night from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. with elected officials and community leaders. So right here in Richmond, RVA, if you want to be in front of these folks, they will be there based upon what he's saying. Mr. 3375.
So what do you say to those folks that believe that voting doesn't, their vote doesn't count? The ones that believe that they already know who they're going to put in there, so why I'm going to go vote anyway? How do you convince those type of people that their vote and stuff does count?
Well, I think what you do is you got to start at home, kind of like what I alluded to earlier, and actually show them. You know what I mean? Like when you vote for the judge in your neighborhood, you can actually see how the decisions that judge makes in your jurisdiction, the decision that he makes, how they affect the people that you know. You
Right.
know these people. You know, whereas the government, the president, you know, we are trained to go and vote, and we should. But many of us, myself included, became very illusioned in 2000 when Al Gore won the presidency and they took it from him. You know, he had the popular vote. More people voted for Al Gore than voted for George Bush. But George Bush became the president because of the Electoral College. You know what I mean? And so when you have an electorate that may not understand how these things works, that's when you get the disillusionment. So how you actually deal with that to specifically get to the heart of what your question is, you got to, you know, they say that all politics is local.
Right.
So you have
Right.
to actually start at home.
Right.
And when you vote, actually hold people who you voted for accountable, because a lot of them have office hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I don't know if it would be productive to roll up on the mayor, you know, but you know, like Brad said earlier, you know, you make a phone call, you need to make sure that people like you who agree with you are doing it as well. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. live from the Den Legacy and their radio, just joined by a longtime contributor who we ain't seen in a while, but whenever she graces us, it's always a good day. Breath of fresh air. Our sister Dee Dee is up in this joint. What's up, girl?
What's up, y'all? Ooh, did I turn the mic off?
No, I got you. I can hear you.
Hello, my people.
What
I
it
missed
is?
You guys so much.
What it do, yo?
Oh my gosh, you just don't know.
So you hear what's going on? What you got?
Let me respond to Jeff's. And I'm just piggybacking off of what you said as far as voting. I did a focus group not too long ago, and it amazed me how many adults said they don't vote in their local elections because, and they were honest. They said, you know, it's you see the most when you're voting for the bigger candidates, like in primaries or the presidential election. That's what they focus on. And it was like a very small group of us who said, you know, well, they have nothing to do with what's going on here, literally. It's the people that you vote for here, the people that represent you here locally. They're the ones that make the laws for the state of Virginia, not Congress. So, I mean, you got federal laws, you got state laws. It amazed me. I didn't realize. And they were white. So that was even more shocking. I'm like, oh, there were 4 of us, 12 of us altogether, and only 4 black people. And the majority of the white people were saying, yeah, you know, I don't vote in the local elections. It's like, wow, well, damn. And neither do the black people. It's sad. Every election period, you hear about the small number of people that showed up to vote. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But they're always out there, you know, come vote for your primary candidate. And half the time, people are only voting for their party. I have voted for candidates that were not well, I vote independent. So, but we don't ever have any good independent candidates, or the ones that we have, how many votes do they get?
Well, it's because it's a popularity contest.
Exactly. It's a popularity contest. It's who you know, who wants to back you financially. Because I said this before to somebody. I don't care how many people want to vote for you. If the party in power is not willing to back you financially,
you know
you're
what's
not getting
crazy?
voted
With
for.
300 million people in America, and we literally, like seriously, I feel like it's a bad dream, like real talk. 300 million people in this country, and we over here fighting over which 70-year-old white person that's rich that we gonna vote for. Like real talk.
Yeah.
Like seriously.
Yeah.
It's 300 million people. We talking about which rich 70-year-old we're gonna vote for. That's crazy. I'm telling you, I will write in Mickey Mouse. I'm not voting for either of them. And I encourage everybody, real talk. Real talk. I encourage everybody who's listening right now to do your homework and your research on the Libertarian candidate. His name is Gary Johnson. Look him up, and if you find some stuff that he says that appeal to you, then consider him. Because that's what I'm doing. Because I don't see a world where I vote for, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. And you have people who say, well, if you don't vote for Hillary, then you're giving a vote to Donald Trump. It really doesn't matter to me. Like, seriously, because anybody who really honestly thinks that Donald Trump is going to have a wall built and the Mexican government's going to pay for it, I got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell to you. Like, seriously, that is like any person, any intellectual, smart person who actually believes that, you're an idiot. You are an idiot.
But the scary
Seriously.
thing is,
Dumbass.
he could win. He could win.
And so can she. It's not going to be better either way.
Either way.
I mean, if he wins, we go to war.
We in trouble.
If she wins,
we go to war.
We're going to be in war in the next 2 years anyway.
It's going to be different types of wars, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's going to be a different type. I guarantee if Donald
But
Trump
do y'all know that China's already in the process of declaring war against us right now because of what's going
How long have
on
they been
in
doing
North Korea?
that? We haven't done anything to them yet.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just, it's only a matter of time. So anyway, I just really wanted to get that out. Libertarian candidate Gary Johnson, look him up. If he's somebody who you could rock with, then rock with him. If not, then do like me and write in, He-Man.
I want to go back to
Superman.
to kind of piggyback off of an answer that you gave earlier, that and answers your question. How do you talk to people that don't think it really matters? I was working on a campaign in 2007. We were in the 42nd district out in Henrico, and there was a gentleman named Joe Blackburn who was an attorney downtown. He was running against an incumbent, Walter Stosh. Long story short, we were in the primaries, and what most people didn't understand was that these were two Republicans. There was no Democratic challenger. So the election was occurring in the primary, and I was trying to tell people, hey, June 12th is the election where we live at, because come November, there's not going to be a challenge. Whoever wins in June is going to be it. So working on this campaign, and the results came out to be he lost by 66 votes, the candidate that I was working for. I thought he was a solid candidate. Walter Stosh just kind of screamed bigotism to me. But anyway, what I learned from that was I know 66 people. Like, we can put together we could have changed that election. And so in working in that local election, that also translates to the national elections. These guys travel to where there are pockets of people. And what you'll find is that white people have fundraisers for their candidates in their homes. They'll invite the people from the neighborhood, all 30, 40, 50 of them. Yep. Everybody drop in their little $25, $50, $100 in the hat. They serve some hors d'oeuvres. The guy speak. He walks away with money, and he walks away with votes. And this is only one neighborhood. But when they're doing that electoral math on election night, you best believe that pocket of people counts for something because it's earning one of those electoral votes. What we have failed to do is to understand that system so that we can pocket our people and reverse that trend. So that's what I would talk about, because most people think when you see that candidate lost by 1 million votes. Okay, that was 1 million votes across the country. But for him to get the 10 electoral votes out of Virginia, the little 30, 40 people in my community matter.
So my question, with all y'all saying that, how do we get them to understand that? How can we get them together as a group and make them understand and teach them what you just told me?
Well, to me, that's on people like us that really want to have a voice, that really want to cause some change. So I was telling Marcus, me and you've been talking about this for a minute. I've had it in the back of my head. And I've been sitting at home the last 2 weeks and I can't just sit here and not do anything. But there have to be people that will step up to the plate and say, hey, look, if I have this information, if I possess this knowledge, I'm going to share it. What's the quickest way to get it out? Can I send some emails out? Can I put it on Facebook? How are we going to, the 7, 8 of us in this room can make a conscious decision that we can send out through social media, email, text, tweets, whatever, tonight to 10 other people. Now that's 80 people that's more informed than it was before we started the conversation.
But you know what? I understand why he's asking the question, because quite frankly, I get frustrated with us as well when we can have very positive conversations. We can talk about how we need to support one another and black businesses and all that kind of stuff. And it'll get next to no love in social media. But if I post a picture, a funny meme with Riley from the Boondocks, it's going to blow up. I'm going to get a whole bunch of likes and stuff like that. So shout out to my sister Melanie in the Shy. What up, sis? I just get real frustrated, and I understand, because that's where I think you're going. And if it's not, tell me. But I think that's where you're going. How do you get a lot of people to no longer be interested in the negative? Because that's what we're dealing with. We're so brainwashed to think that that's the way we should be, that when you're presented with positivity, you shun it. Yeah. And then you get smart people, real smart people, who say stuff like, I don't even watch the news no more. It's all depressing. I understand why you would say that, whoever you are, and you know who you are, because there's plenty of people that I know personally who say that. And I don't mean to take a shot at you, but you need to be informed. Even if it's to be informed about nonsense, you should still be informed, because we all have a duty to push each other and pull each other, to build each other. We have a duty for that. That's what the whole phrase, it takes a community, it takes a, what is the word? Village. That's what that's all about. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial. 804-402-2893, I'm sorry, is the number to dial to be a part of tonight's discussion. I have a question for the panel. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. I want to talk about Black Lives Matter because I've gotten a lot of my white brothers and sisters, not a lot, but a few, have approached me. Nobody has come in an inappropriate way. So let me just say that. Nobody has come in an inappropriate way. That's good to know. But, yeah, because they don't want it with me for real. But folks know who I am, and they know what I do. They know that I'm not afraid to come on the radio or in social media or in the street and speak the real. Because you got a lot of black people that's scared of white people. That's some real talk. They scared of white people. They're not going to say what's in their mind. They're not going to say what's in their heart, because they afraid of how white people are going to react. So when there's black folk in the room, you can say what you want. But when there's white folk in the room, you got to translate it, or you got to say it differently. One thing about me is I don't care who's in the room. I'm going to speak the way I speak, regardless of who is around. Having said that, you got a lot of them that have come to me, and some of them have been very supportive of Black Lives Matter, and some of them are not. Like the folks who have this petition online that want to petition the White House and say that Black Lives Matter is a terror organization. Never mind the KKK has been giving out flyers to try to get, membership, and they're also giving out flyers in black neighborhoods to kind of put the message out, get back in your place, nigger. You know what I mean? You know, Negra. You know what they, you know how that's how they say it. Negra, yeah. So we have to be mindful of what we're dealing with. So anyway, they're coming to me and they're saying, yo, you want to host a town hall and see if we can get our communities together? And I'm saying to myself,
Awesome.
me? You want to talk to me now? You want to talk to me? You want to talk to me now that it's on television?
The fear
that
is
you get,
real now.
But see, this is what I'm saying.
The fear is real
But see,
now.
this is what I'm saying. Terror organization, Black Lives Matter.
That,
But let me finish this last point. I'm gonna let you jump in. Black people in this country have to know how to act and think white. You have to.
yeah.
You have to know how to be white, and you have to know how to think white. Whereas white people do not have to carry that burden. And so it takes colossal nerve and gall for someone who can go on Facebook and say, well, if he didn't resist, he wouldn't have gotten killed. For that person to come to me and ask me to bridge the gap, I can't even really, I don't even know how to even respond to that. I'll let you jump in because I'm getting a little bit fun. Well, obviously I did.
Oh, okay.
But what I'm saying is, like, this is what we're dealing with. That's what we deal with. We deal with black people in this country have to be black and white. That's what the whole thing about as kids when we're taught, you have to be twice as good as little Johnny. Raheem. You know what I mean? That's what we taught, right? You got to be twice as good. That's what we taught. We get to talk so that you don't end up like Philando Castro, even though he did everything right by all accounts. There are a lot of us who walk around with concealed weapons on us. And we have permits to do that. But does it really matter? Is the Second Amendment for everybody? Or is it just for some people? I was in a store and I seen a dude openly carrying on both hips with a gun belt on, like it was the Old West. And it's legal. We in an open carry state here in Virginia. But if I had done that, it would have went down that day for me. It would have went down that day for me. And so let's have the real conversation. If we're going to talk, then we're going to really talk. But if we're not ready to really talk, then get the hell out my face with that Marcus J needs to host a town hall.
Yeah, that bullshit right there was just trouble.
Yeah, come on, man.
That was the intention.
FOH.
To me, it sounds like the intention is to rile you up, get a whole group of us riled up after hearing some dumbass remarks from the people. Like you said, just do what they say and you wouldn't have, no.
He did what he
No.
said, was pulling out the thing out of his pocket.
And still got shot.
And still got killed.
The fear is real now because two black men, I think the first guy was black,
They both were.
decided to shoot at cops. Now they want to talk because of two black men that shot at some cops.
I don't believe the media.
Only two.
Well, we talked about that in the last segment before you got here. So I'm glad to see that you're on the right, on the same path as us, because I want your thoughts on this, because we didn't talk about the Black Lives Matter in that last segment, but that first one, Micah Johnson, he chose to take cops out at a Black Lives Matter rally. And so his actions, at least in the initial aftermath, was directly connected to Black Lives Matter, even though he was a lone wolf. Yeah. He was someone, and of course, did y'all notice? Hold up, let me just detour for just a minute. Did y'all notice that before they started showing him in his military garb, they showed him in a dashiki with his fist in the air? Did y'all notice that?
No.
Yeah, that was the initial picture. Again, with the games, the subtleties, the dog whistles. You know what I mean? This is how they are, this is the fear. That's the fear. That is where the fear comes from, because they want to indoctrinate every single person in this country in some kind of way to be fearful of a certain look. So now, when you see a man with a dashiki on, you wondering, if something is about to go down. Just like in an open carry state in Texas, that same day that Micah Johnson, you know where I'm going, that same day that Micah Johnson did that heinous act of killing innocents, and yeah, they happen to be cops, but innocent black people get killed by cops. Let's not be lost on that. But they rolled up, put a dude's picture on the news, black dude.
Yep.
He ain't do nothing wrong. All he did was exercise his Second Amendment right to openly carry, and they put his picture on and call him a suspect.
I don't think they've apologized to him yet.
They didn't.
They didn't.
I didn't think
They
still haven't.
No.
They won't. But here's the other subtlety to that. His picture was so fearful because he wasn't just carrying a handgun. His brother was carrying an AR-15, if
And
I'm
he
not
was
mistaken.
smiling.
It was an assault rifle on his back. And that is designed to make you think that that image is wrong, not tolerated. A black man with a military-grade weapon is not permissible. However, yesterday in Baton Rouge, if you took a look at the television as they showed images from around the scene, every police officer in blue was standing there with an assault rifle. And so they're telling us that this is acceptable. Our police are supposed to be armed as military is now. They're carrying assault rifles, they're driving tanks, they got all of these different things going on so that we are supposed to think that that's okay, but not when a black man does it. That's a fear thing. You got to be scared of him.
It is.
So that's crazy.
This is all fear. Now they're afraid they're going to be shot at any time. Guess what? And I hate to be like this. Lord knows I do. But guess what?
That's how we
Karma
feel.
is a
What goes around comes around.
it's a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to make it plain, and I think everybody in the room agrees that no one here or anywhere else is or would endorse the killings of anybody, blue, black, white, or whatever. But I think we all in this in this room and in this country, if we have been affected by this, we understand. You know, we are dealing with lone wolves now. Let's be clear about that. We're dealing with lone wolves. But we need to be very clear that these lone wolves are pissed about watching police kill people in the street and have nothing happen to them. You can look and see, what is it? We have 565 or 570 killings of civilians by police just right now. The police killed Freddie Gray in Baltimore, and the highest ranking official was acquitted today. Today.
Yeah.
When they choked out Eric Garner using a move or a hold that was banned by the NYPD, the dude who actually did it was found to be not guilty, but his superior officer, who was a black female, was charged.
Which I think is crazy.
Think about that for a second.
That is so crazy to me, though, because that's so crazy to me. I don't understand how you're going to hold her responsible when it was the other man.
She was a
out
supervisor.
there.
She was a supervisor, but the dude today that was acquitted in Baltimore, he was the supervisor. So think about that.
He and all his people got off.
Yeah, they all
Six of them.
they all
So
got off.
everybody got off?
Everybody.
Freddie Gray? He was the last one.
Last acquittal of the five.
I thought they were going to prison.
No, I knew that when the first guy got off. But the thing about the Freddie Gray situation, which is even worse, the majority of the cops involved with that were black.
Yes, but it don't matter when you blue.
They all blue.
It don't
Yes.
matter. It don't
right
matter.
now, it's
It's blue
that's
against
scary,
black.
man.
Well,
That's scary.
I don't want to say it's against, but the reality is our relationship with the police has always been adversarial, and it's crazy for those folks who want to call Black Lives Matter and any black person who is pissed, who is standing up and saying this ain't cool, and you're a white person and says that he shouldn't have resisted. Let me lay a couple of facts out for you. First fact, and first obvious fact is, since when do you get to be judge and jury in the field and decide that resisting arrest is a penalty that comes with the penalty of death?
Recently.
You can talk trash, you die. You should have listened to what the officer said, so you get to die for that. That's something that's punishable by death. Here's another thing. Over the last 40 years, or we can even shorten and say over the last 20 years, the incidences of police killing civilians has been steadily rising, whereas the incidence of civilians killing police has been steadily going down. So think about that when you tell me that there is a war on police. If there's a war on police, then you would think
More cops would
that
be
more
getting
cops
killed. Yeah.
would be getting killed as opposed to less cops getting killed. Someone help me understand that. I don't know that there's anybody that can.
I don't know.
You know, but let's go back to Black Lives Matter. I want to go around the room. I want everybody in the room to jump in on that. Shane,
you know what? I didn't even respond to that.
But-
How can a movement be? I mean, because it's not a group. It's like the civil rights movement. That's like,
you know
saying,
how? It's American logic. Just like Donald Trump has declared war on ISIS, even though ISIS isn't a country, it isn't nothing but ideology. It's American logic, which doesn't make sense. How you can declare war on something that's not even, it's not even a country. It's a thought process. Just like a thought process, Black Lives Matter is a terror organization.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
How do you call a thought, a movement, an action, a noun? How do you do that?
It's the organization is there to bring awareness to black people. So the one thing that white people do not want you black people to do is learn anything new. So awareness is a no-no. So the biggest thing that they can do is come back and say, they're terrorists. Like y'all said earlier, they're already afraid of us. So now let's not get too many of us together in one group with a little bit more awareness, because now we're going to cause a problem. So I think that's where it's coming from. Keep us separated, keep us yelling and fighting and screaming and whatever else we're doing amongst each other. Let's keep that rolling and let them finish just kind of making us disappear. They don't want us to know anything. They don't want us to get together. They don't want us to become one. They don't want that shit to happen. So that's why we are now being told it's a terrorist group. Man, get the hell up out of here with that nonsense. Just go on.
Shana,
you know where the terrorist group is? Try those magic freaking letters, KKK, suckers.
Yeah.
Try those
that?
letters.
How about that? When we're talking about the KKK, I've always, and I've said that, I've been saying this for as long as I've been doing radio. You talking about a terror organization. They have a legacy of terror.
Yes.
And it's I find it curious that you don't utilize that word unless it's and I hate to use the word minority to refer to people of color, because we know that in the grand scheme of things we are the majority. But for the purposes of making sure that everybody is understanding what I'm saying, if you're a minority, you get to be a terrorist. Like, they fight and reject using the word terrorist when it's your Timothy McVeighs and your Ted Kaczynskis and people like that. You know what I'm saying? And, I like to have the real honest conversation. And a lot of times people think that you're, bashing white folk. I mean, look, I got plenty of stuff to say for our own people, but you saw what they did to Bill Cosby and others before Bill's troubles, for even saying anything. Oh, man, you airing the dirty laundry. No, pull your pants up and quit being a kid. Like, grow up. So, anyway, Shana, you were showing me something?
Oh, I was just giving y'all an update on the Black Lives Matter protest that was going on 95. There were no black people there. There were all white people, and they're all been arrested.
Shout out to them for looking up and standing up for
just
us.
for
I noticed that earlier, and I was going to say something. I was like,
yes,
what?
they all just got arrested, and
showing
they're
the
all
picture.
white people.
She was looking at the
When I
picture.
looked
I'm
at-
gonna post it on. I'm about
They
to
said
post
they had
them.
signs up,
When I
Black
looked at the
Lives
picture,
Matter.
I was like,
Oh,
these are all white
they
people.
said to
Earlier, they
9/11,
had-
they're going to tell us why white silence is violence.
Oh yeah, they were saying that too. White silence is violence.
I actually like that.
And I agree with that statement as well.
I'm proud of them.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel. I feel great.
Well,
Not that they got arrested, but
yeah,
the
listen,
fact that they went
what's-
out there,
What's going to happen to them though, for real?
they're going to get let to go.
Well,
Their
I mean,
parents going to come bail them out.
anybody. Well, I mean, in the interest of fairness, most of the time, when people get arrested for protesting, there's not really any charges that really stick. You get out on your own recognizance, and usually have a little misdemeanor
Unless
stuff.
you have warrants.
Unless you got warrants.
Stand forever.
or unpaid parking tickets, like the dude that
That's why a lot of
take
black
the
people don't rally in March.
the shooting in Dallas.
He had
all of a sudden,
he looking at 4 years for that.
yeah, all of a sudden, you got all these unpaid parking tickets. You're going to jail for a long time.
So I guess basically you better have a clean record before you march.
He got caught up. He was riding Uber to work.
Yes, and he got out of his car and they were like,
He
hey,
arrested.
let's
Should have
go.
rode Lyft.
Jump in, Mo.
In regards to the Black Lives Matter, I feel like the movement wouldn't even be necessary if people really felt that all lives matter.
Right.
But to compare us to the KKK, my logic on that is, and I think somebody spoke on it earlier, if we was like the KKK, so many more white people would be dead.
Yes.
So many more police people would be dead.
Yes.
So many homes would be burned up.
Yes.
Then you call us terrorists. You call us thugs. But the little white dude who went in and shot up the people in that church, killed all 9 of us. You come out in a bulletproof vest. You get a ride in a police car. You get fed Burger King, and you live to see tomorrow.
Oh no! Do you know that
was
his lawyer is
trying to get him
gonna?
out.
They're trying to get it acquitted.
Yeah, and
That was a
and it's sad to
hero's.
say that he probably will get off based on a plea of insanity.
Oh, absolutely.
Anytime a black man, a black woman, a black child does something, it's because of the way that we were raised. We're thugs. We're this.
We black.
But let it be a white person, and it's, oh my God, Timmy has a mental disorder.
Yeah.
You got
How
to,
come Tyrone don't have one?
You can pay attention. It's as simple as paying attention to how the information is disseminated. Like that white boy who, raped the girls on the college campus. They were showing the picture, the swimmer. Yeah, they were showing the picture of his from the college yearbook with a jacket and tie.
And the judge
said,
it's gonna mess up his swimming career.
It's gonna mess up. Yeah, it's gonna mess up his career. So that's why he didn't get no real time.
Just rape.
Whereas you have dead black people who are killed by police, and they showing old mugshots.
Old, like
10 years ago mugshots. Like that's what they did with Alton Sterling.
Dirt on them.
They
They're
showed
really
the 10.
pulling-
They showed the 10 years. See, again, this speaks to the systematic brainwashing. 1, and 2, it speaks to the fear, because even in the process of showing you a victim, you are turning the victim into an aggressor by showing them in an aggressive situation. A mugshot, by virtue of what it is aggression. Like, you don't think that a person is going to even have a mugshot by being passive aggressive. You know what I mean? You wouldn't have a mugshot.
well, that's not true.
But the thought process.
Drug offenders, when they
Well,
get arrested,
yeah.
they go to jail. They got to take mugshots.
Well, of course.
and
But
that's my. They try to make it seem.
but
like
they
it's
criminal.
something
I guess the
else.
point. Let me
Exactly.
change the word.
They
Then
criminalize
they
it.
criminalize
Yes.
it. That's probably a better way to say it. So thank you for checking me on that one,
I
Brian.
guess what I don't understand is what's the purpose in showing their mug shots? If they won't doing it today or yesterday, what they got to do?
Well,
with
you
it?
know
That's
why?
not what got 'em
Again, it speaks to, and I hope that I have some of my white brothers and sisters who are listening tonight. And 804-402-2893. Call in, state your name. Call in anonymous. But I think this is a conversation that we need to have, because I'm glad, Shana, you showed us the picture of white folk out there doing that, because we can, as a community, say, we got this, we don't need no white people's help. Malcolm X was famous for saying that pre-Mecca. But the reality is, we live in a whitewashed world. We live in a white supremacist world. And people get upset when they hear that phrase, white supremacy. Doesn't necessarily have to have a negative connotation. What it means is that this country was founded by and for white people. And to this day, they are the ones who are in control and in power. So that is supreme. That is supremacy. So you don't have to get in your feelings, white people, when you hear that phrase, because that's, by the definition, that's what it is. And so if you really, really care about fairness, if you really, really bout it, then you are the ones that want to seek fairness for everybody, because that's what it says in the Constitution. All men are created equal. But you got to remember who the all men were when the Constitution was written.
Exactly.
Not our men.
It was white. It wasn't even for white women. It was all men.
Only men
are created equal.
Actually, and it was only for men with land and
Yes,
money.
land and money. That's it. Land and money.
That only the yeah.
White men.
White men. Yeah. All men are created equal. Brad, I see you want to get in. Jump in, bro.
Now, I had a question. I've been having a question, and I'm glad you brought up the term of fairness and how things work. But my question is, how come when these police officers shoot and kill our black men in any of these situations, don't none of them have to go to jail that day? I mean, and I'm asking this question because if I were sitting in my own home, somebody breaks in, I'm perfectly within my right to defend my home and my family, and I shoot him dead.
You're going to jail.
I'm going downtown
that day.
I'm going to have to answer some questions. They're going to hold me until they are satisfied that my story holds up, that facts check out, and that I was within my right. These people are on live video camera brandishing weapons and killing black men at point blank range, and they send them home on administrative leave.
With
they
pay.
get to go home
I was going to say
with
they get
pay.
paid to kill us.
You go home, have a good meal, sleep in your own bed,
Pay your light bill.
and collect your paycheck the
It's
next
called
day.
state
And so I'm wondering,
sanctioned
because
killing.
for me, this is one of these pieces of legislation that I'm talking about. There needs to be some sort of checkpoint to where, okay, this happened as a police officer, whether you were right or not. Until we figure that out, your butt gonna sit behind bars.
Well, here's the elephant in the room that many folks in our community don't often like to bring up or talk about when we're having this conversation, that white folk are real quick to bring up, and even the ones who I find to be fair in their analysis of the situation are quick to bring up, is that there's a lot of death and murder in our community. And I have my opinion on this, which I'm share, but I want to get everybody else in on this one first. There's a lot of death and murder in our community perpetrated by us. And all we have to do is look at Chicago, Richmond, Jersey City. And that's just the cities that I'm going to speak to because I got a connection to two of those three. And so having said that, what do we say about the fact that we're doing a lot of this killing to ourselves? How do we get so up in arms when it's the police? And I have my opinion on this. I'm just asking the question to the panel, and I want y'all to kind of talk about it. Us going to talk about it, and then I'll share in the course of the discussion what my thoughts are. But we killing each other too.
So my take on that is black on black crime. There's white on white crime. There's black on white. There's white on black. The difference between us getting in an uproar when we're being killed by cops is the fact that when Tyrone shoot and kill Jerome, Tyrone going to jail. When Tyrone turn around and kill Craig, somebody's going to jail. When it's white on black, black on white, it's still not equal justice, but somebody is always held accountable. When they are out there killing us, they will say, oh, such and such is being charged with homicide. Once it's all said and done, you walk away free. You still get to go home. You still get to go back to work. You still get to go collect your check. Tyrone still got to sit in that cell and hope somebody send him some commissary. So it angers me when people say, well, if you fix what's going on in your own community, then we can start worrying about what's happening outside your community. If you're not coming inside my community to help me fix it, then that shouldn't be something that you say out your mouth, because we going to jail. But Officer Anderson going to sit on the swings in the backyard with his little girl.
And so is John Johnson or John Thompson, whatever generic name is.
George Zimmerman, a real name.
George Zimmerman.
Who keep on getting
a real name.
On getting
no, he
arrested.
didn't go to jail. Didn't he go to jail?
Yeah, they did took him. They took him
Keep on
downtown that
getting in
night.
trouble.
They took him
It
downtown.
had to look good.
Then he gonna put the gun up for sale.
The gun sold
Really?
for how much?
It was like $300 thousand or something.
It sold for a lot.
Yeah, like she's saying, my take on it is, you're right. I get up in arms about black. I'm getting up in arms about this idiot across the street that shot, somebody for no damn reason. I'm mad about that too. But we're talking about law enforcement officials killing.
Yes.
State-sanctioned killing, literally. State-sanctioned. Every state has different laws and different protections for their law enforcement officials. North Carolina's about to pass a law about this body cam. Yeah, we're gonna let them tape you,
They
but you ain't gonna
keeping
be
it
able to see it.
private. You can't see
You
it.
cannot see
That's
it.
crazy to me.
What's the point of having it?
There is none. So, and then you tell us that we can't have all our phones, and the police want you to put your
I'm
phones
taping
away.
you. Listen,
if
it
I
doesn't
can't-
matter anymore. Damn it, they're killing what on live Facebook feed.
It never mattered. Go back to Rodney King. He
yeah.
was on tape.
You
It
know what?
never
You're
mattered.
First black man on
Never.
But see,
Never.
what they'll tell you, what they'll tell you is Rodney King was beating up cops prior to that tape going on.
Was he?
Yeah, he was.
But they said that about all of them.
Yeah, I mean, he was, because there was some of those officers in the Rodney King case that had injuries that was consistent with them getting their asses kicked.
Good for them.
At the
So
same
he
time,
was whipping
at the
ass
So
same
he was
time,
before.
he was whooping
He was
their ass.
probably trying to defend himself.
It wasn't
but see, yeah,
prepared
He
for
was
what
probably
happened
trying
They
to
when they let them
defend
cops
himself.
I saw-
go. It wasn't
Back
prepared
then,
for
I
that.
saw-
It
wasn't
rampant.
prepared for that
The
riot.
corruption was rampant back
I-
then.
I
It
saw-
wasn't
was
prepared
one
for that
man.
riot.
I saw
They
a
thought they was
post.
going to get away with it. They wasn't
Yes.
prepared for that riot.
I saw some analysis by Tim Wise, and a lot of folks know who Tim Wise is. Tim Wise is a white man who is very pro-black, for lack of a better term. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to really get further into who he is. Look him up, Tim Wise. But he had a very interesting comment, Brad. I want you to comment on about specifically the Alton Sterling case. When we talk about resisting arrest, and he was talking about fight or flight. When someone comes at you and they're fighting you, is your natural instinct to have your body just completely go limp? Or is your natural instinct to just try to not get your ass whooped in that moment? You know what I mean? And I think also, if we're thinking about Alton Sterling, another case that we haven't talked about much, and someone help me. I can't remember the guy's name in real life, but Michael B. Jordan played him in Fruitvale Station in Oakland when the cop said, "Oh, I thought it was my taser," when they shot him in the back, killing him. And he was, for lack of a better term, mildly resisting as well. And so let's kind of talk a little bit about resisting. Just your thoughts on that. What do you think? Resisting arrest, punishable by death?
Absolutely not. Because then here's the other thing: white people do it all the time, and they don't get killed for it. It is not.
But they white though.
Exactly. That's the point.
But your white brother who is going at bat for you is going to benefit from his whiteness. But if you mention the phrase white privilege, he's going to have a problem with you. He's going to call you a race baiter. And he's going to say, we live in a post-racial country where we have a black president. What is wrong with you, Broderick? That's what he's going to say to you. To that you say what?
I mean, he can say it all he wants to. That don't make it true. I mean, I'm not even getting involved in that conversation because, I mean, again, you're looking at the facts. You're looking at the mindset of how we as a people are just being treated across the country. I mean, and that's real. You cannot get around that. So the resisting arrest thing, I mean, a lot of these situations, with Alton Sterling, and I don't think we've seen tape of what he was doing prior to them attempting to arrest him. But it was my understanding that the brother sold CDs outside of the convenience store, right?
Right.
With the convenience store owner's permission. And so if you're selling a CD and a police officer comes up to you and just says, hey, you're under arrest, and starts wanting to put handcuffs on you, your natural response is to resist that.
Be like, hell no.
The first thing you'll say is, what did I ain't done anything. You can't arrest me if I haven't done anything. And so that's a natural response to resist that, particularly if you're not in the act of committing a crime. So even if you do resist that, their job as police officers, as community police officers, is to restrain and subdue you in order to get you to inside of custody. The job is not to kill you.
Well, didn't they say, well, it's kind of like they say they fear for their life. I look at it as you being black is not a choice. Putting on that blue and putting on that badge is a choice. So if you are scared, why go into a profession in which you are agreeing to put yourself into harm's
You need
way.
a new job.
Because I thought I was going to have some power.
Right.
That is it. That is it. I think they did an interview with some cop, and he said that very same thing. Most of these guys are on a power trip, and their thing is, you do what I say, and you can hear them. You can clearly hear it in their voices. You didn't do what I said. That's why this is happening to you.
And that brings up another point that I think should be inside of somebody's legislation. I think there needs to be more in-depth psychoanalysis of every police officer, because people that were bullies in high school, people that have been a part of Nazi or Aryan Nation or skinheads or whatever early on, and now all of a sudden I want to be a responsible adult, so I'm going to join the police department. There should be things in your background that prevent you from being on anybody's police force.
Mental
And I don't
illness.
think we're doing enough to be able to make sure that we're putting people of the right mentality to protect our communities.
I can dig it. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio. We're going to take a break. So Facebook Live, we see y'all. We appreciate y'all. I see my auntie checking out. What's up, auntie? I see my sister Tony in Jersey checking us out. And I see my sister Deb checking us out. So shout out to y'all. Thank y'all on Facebook Live. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, I'm going to ask a question. Are we being too hard on the police? Don't answer it. Think about it. Facebook Live, I'm shutting you down, but I'm going to bring you back up on the other side. And then Mr. 3375 is taking us into the Sham Pipple room. And who knows what the hell we're going to be sipping on once we get in there. Marcus J. and the crew and you. Ain't no half stepping with yours truly. Be back in a few.